count down for me. I'm ready, anytime. So I have to be honest, I find myself a little bit speaking tongue-in-cheek this morning. We used to make fun, and the reason is we used to make fun of this youth pastor who would always use Dr. Seuss books to find a way to show how the gospel message was clear. And as you know, these days, Dr. Seuss has come under some fire and scrutiny as of late. And so it's kind of interesting that today I'm going to be doing something that may seem like a very loaded question. Are you familiar with the children's book by Shel Silverstein, The Giving Tree? Now, I've only just become acquainted with it recently. It's a wonderful and beloved book held dear by both adults, children, and in one sense, it's a simple story. It's about a boy, it's about a tree. In another sense, it's a very puzzling book to people, and it leaves some people without a clear resolution. And I just learned the other day that The Giving Tree, which was published well over 50 years ago, is still causing controversy between religious scholars, academics, parents, all left debating what its meaning really is. You can see this from the quotation in the New York Times article. That you can see that these contrasting opinions with the title of their article, The Giving Tree, a tale of tender, unconditional love, or a disturbing tale of monstrous selfishness. Two very different reactions to the same story. How can this be? So I want you to join me today as we enter into the story of The Giving Tree by Shel Silverstein. And we're going to pair it with another event in the 23rd chapter of the Gospel of Luke, which also had some contrasting reactions. The event of the cross, two thieves, and the crucifixion of Jesus Christ. Let me begin. The Giving Tree by Shel Silverstein. Once upon a time, there was a tree. The tree loved the little child. The child would come every day, gathering leaves, climbing the trunk, and swinging from the tree's branches. The child and the tree would play, eating apples, playing hide and seek. When the child was tired, he would sleep in the tree's shade. The child loved the tree very much, and the tree was happy. But time went by, and the boy grew older, and the tree was often alone. Then one day the boy came to the tree, and the tree said, "Come, child, come. Come and swing from my branches, play in my shade, and be happy." "I'm too big to climb and play. I want to buy things and have fun. I want money." So the tree said, "I have no money. Take my apples, child. Go and sell them in this city, and then you will have money, and then you will be happy." So the child took all the tree's apples and carried them away, and the tree was happy. Now the child stayed away for a long, long time, and the tree was sad. Then one day the child came back. The tree shook with joy. "Come, child, come. Come up my trunk, swing from my branches, and be happy." "I'm too busy to climb trees. I want a house. I want a wife and children, so I need a house. Can you give me a house?" "The forest is my house, but you may cut off my branches and build a house. Then you will be happy." So the child cut off all the tree's branches and carried them away to build a house, and the tree was happy. But the child stayed away for a long, long time. When the child came back, the tree was so happy it could hardly speak. "Come, child," whispering, "come and play." "I'm too old to play," said the child. "I want a boat that will take me far, far away from here. Can you give me a boat?" "Cut down my trunk and make a boat," said the tree. "Then you can sail away and be happy." So the child cut down the trunk and made a boat and sailed away. And the tree was happy, but not really. After a long, long time, the child came back again. I am sorry, child, the tree said, but I have nothing left to give you. My apples are gone. My teeth are too weak for apples. My branches are gone. I am too old to swing on them. My trunk is gone, so you cannot climb on it. I am too old to climb, said the child. I wish I could give you something, but I have nothing left. I am just an old stump. I am sorry. I don't need very much now. Just a quiet place to sit and rest. I am very tired. Well, said the tree, straightening up, an old stump is a good place for sitting and resting. Come, child, sit down. Sit down and rest. And the child did, and the tree was happy. Isn't it funny that sometimes it's not until we get to the end of our life that we finally kind of figure maybe what it's about? All the tree ever wanted was to be with the child, like it was at the beginning. But as the child grows, he kind of becomes mean and selfish, and the child uses the tree, leaves the tree whenever the child gets what he wants, and the tree just keeps giving and giving and giving until all that's left is a stump. The tree gave up everything for that child, just so the child could be with that tree, and that they could be happy again, like they were. And so finally at the end, the tree gets what it wants the whole time, just to be together with the child, like it was at the beginning. Having read this story for the first time in my life in the past month or so, it reminded me of another story. Once upon a time, there was a garden. And in that garden, people had intimacy with God. He was a good God. He loved to give and give and give. And then one day we left to go our own way and try to have a better life without him. And God was sad. We could never get back to God's garden on our own, but God still desperately wanted us to be back with him. And so he gave and gave and gave. And he gave himself away. He loved us so much that he gave his only Son, so that whoever believed in him would not die, but have everlasting life together forever with him. That's what Jesus Christ was doing on the cross. Jesus brought to the cross, and he's stood up on the cross, and everyone around Jesus that day, they're staring at him like a spectacle, and he's being ridiculed by everyone. He's tried as a criminal, and even though he did nothing wrong, he's sentenced to death. And what's even more amazing is he knew that it was going to happen. He knew it was the reason he came, to die on a cross, to pay for our mistakes, so we could be back with him. Our God loves to give and give and give. At the cross, Luke tells us that there are two criminals beside him, and they have very different reactions to who Jesus is and what he's doing on the cross. One is kind of mean. If you really are God's son, save yourself and us too, he sneers at Jesus. It's like the little boy in the story. All he seems to know is how to take and take. He just wants to use Jesus so he can get away with his crimes. His reaction is a disturbing tale of monstrous selfishness. The other criminal is a little different. He reacts differently. The other criminal chides the mean one, and he speaks. He has done nothing wrong. We are guilty of our crimes. Even now, at the end, don't you fear God? Don't you know that without his mercy, we may never get back to him? And then he says something Jesus was giving his whole life for in the hopes of hearing. Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom. He did not ask Jesus to forget that he was a criminal. He did not ask Jesus to free him of his own death sentence. He did not try to convince Jesus how much he deserved this. He just asked Jesus to have mercy on him, to remember him. to save him from God's judgment and make him his own. The good news is our God loves to give. Jesus had never forgotten him. The criminal was the very reason Jesus was giving his life away, dying on a cross, so a criminal could be saved and not lost. Then Jesus answered him, "This day you will be with me in paradise." I don't know if you know this, but the Greek word used in this passage of Luke for paradise is the same Greek word used for in the Old Testament, the Greek Old Testament, the Septuagint, and it's used to describe the Garden of Eden. It's the same Greek word. Jesus promises the thief, "This day you will be back with me in paradise." Death could no longer keep them apart. Sin could no longer keep them apart. Time and space could no longer keep them apart. They would be back together that very day, like they were in the garden at the very beginning. Like the giving tree in the story, it didn't depend on what the child had done for the tree, but what the tree did for the child. A tale of tender, unconditional love. That's why we call it Good Friday. It's all about a giving God, a God who gives and gives and gives until he has given everything he has away, all so that he can be back together with us and we can be back together with him. So that this very day and every other day, we can be together forever with him in paradise, like we were the very beginning, back in the garden. So that when you and I cry out at the end of ourselves, "Jesus, Jesus, remember us," we joyfully discover we were never, ever forgotten. God bless you. Thank you for listening.